Alright, parts that have showed up so far. Got a 518 or 46 RE. Got a rebuild. Got the governor solenoid transducer. Rear band. This one happens to be a solid one. Front band, whether it's going bad or not, replace it because it will be bad. 12864 spring snap ring that goes in the overdrive section. It's not broke, it will be broke. The 3/4 accumulator spring, if it's not broke, it will be broke. Pump bushing. This one takes the deep filter. Got the manual valve so we can eliminate the check ball in the cooler line and eliminate our need for having to put it in neutral and check the fluid and the converter to charge in neutral and all that good crap. This will start charging as soon as you start the engine up, so you don't have to worry about that no more. And the LS kit, they didn't send me my front planet. Something else that they didn't send me. I don't remember what it is right now, but we'll get going on this one. Mission's really getting out of control. So I don't never take this out. I just always leave it together. This is the overdrive sprag. This bearing is going to go on there. It goes in just like so. Make sure all your rollers and springs are still in there. Our overdrive planet. No need to take this apart. There's a snap ring down here. It holds this together. It's got this big spring in there. There's no need to take that apart. So we got this bearing. It's going to go on the back side here. You need a line-up tool for this. I just keep the shaft out of one that's no good, intermediate shaft, and I cut it off and make my own tool out of it. This is it right here. Drop that down in there. Your sprag's going to turn counterclockwise and lock clockwise. And depending on the snap ring groove here, the depth of this, where this is set at, distance from here to here, it's going to determine how many clutches that you have in this. Alright, your bottom steel has a cutout that faces down. And our clutches and steels on top of that. And our top pressure plate, and the pressure plate's going to be determinant on how many clutches you got. Also, this one's 216. Actually, I better zero that out and check that again. Why are you acting this way? Still same. And this is where our 12864 snap ring goes, and it's a wavy snap ring. And we'll put this in the press and press this down. So we're just going to leave this in here to keep this lined up. Oh, that's the other thing that they didn't send me. They sent me my shim for my overdrive section in the housing. When you press this down, you're going to have an opening that's big enough to get around here, because this is going to push up past here. And you're also going to have to be deep enough that you don't hit this. And if you want to take this snap ring out, you're going to have an opening to be able to get into there. I'll never take it off. Alright, I got this piece here for the forward drum. That part. And then we got, this is our piston. There's a check ball in there. We'll make sure it's nice and free. Lip seal for the forward drum and lip seal for the overdrive direct piston are almost identical, but the lip is taller for the forwards, so this one goes in here. The lip's going to face up towards us. Lip's going to face up towards us. I use Transgel Gold for doing all my lip seals and stuff like this. I use the green, but this happens to be Dr. Tranny or Lube Guard's. Actually, I think Lube Guard owns Dr. Tranny, so I guess it don't matter which one I say. That's what they sent me, the green, but Transgel does make the green also. I make 4 colors. I make gold, red, blue, and green. Gold being the thinnest, green being the thickest. And you can use any kind of lip seal tool that you want. This is a snap-on drawer lock tool. I found that they work best for me, especially after you've used them for a while. That's what I've always used. You can use a feeler gauge. You can use some of these kits come with these lip wizards. I keep these around for certain things. Just whatever you can get in there and not tear the lip of your lip seal. And we got 2 wavy, actually there's 3 wavy snap rings, but these 2 are pretty close to each other. The real wavy one goes in the forward drum, the semi-wavy one goes in the direct drum. You got your bevel plate for your forwards. Sits on there. This fiber washer is going to sit on top, and then the snap ring is going to pop in the groove. And this is probably going to be easier if I pull this out towards me. I don't know if I'll be able to get this in there. Sometimes they go in easy, sometimes they want to be a snot. And this one's going in pretty easy, so I was able to do it okay. Not pulling it up towards me. This 3-tab washer goes in the back here. It only fit one direction. This is your bottom pressure plate for your forwards. Your forward clutches are the thinner ones, and the thin steels normally go in the forward drum. You can. There's thick and thin steels. You can, if your clearance is coming up wrong, you can play around with it. Keep the knot, the open, if you have an opening like that, keep those all together. Pressure plate and flat snap ring. Looking good. Change our sealing rings here. Started saving these plastic rings that I take off of here, and I've been putting them on my RO5A input drum. A buddy of mine turned me on to that. That's the only time I change those sealing rings on that transmission. Besides I put the 470W output shaft sealing rings, these little dudes, on the sun geared shaft. Other than that, I don't change any of those sealing rings. You're just asking for trouble if you do. You want to hang on to them because you're going to end up putting them back in there. These are got this cut just like that. They're going to fit together just like that. Open them up just enough to get it around there. You don't want them, if you open them too far, and they don't always snap, what happens is the spine of it will break. You don't always feel it, but if you break the spine of it, it won't seal properly. These hook together.
Hey, how's everything going with that? Okay, you finished that on the Dodge. You can start signing. Yeah.
And the washer that goes here is real close to the same that goes in the pump. The pump one's selective. This one here is 59 thousandths. Now we're changing our drum also. Band-aid it up. I'll go put my Now sometimes in these kits like this one, they'll give you two different lip seals that go on the inner for the direct drum. Don't ever use this one. Always use this wide lipped one. If you use this one, you will within a few weeks be taking it back apart, because what's going to happen is it's going to wear the lip of that lip seal down because it sits too far back in the groove, and then it's not going to seal, and you're not going to have third gear. It'll be real late going into third, won't go in at all, or slipping. Then there's two lip seals. One's a little smaller than the other. This one goes towards the overdrive direct piston. This one here goes to the directs, smaller one. And it's not so bad on these later torque flights, but on the early torque flights, sometimes this could be a real pain to get down in there, because the drum was more square cut and wouldn't go in that easy. You could take the lip seal and you just kind of lay it sort of in the groove, and then I normally put it on dry. So what it does is when it goes down and it starts to go into the groove, it shoves it back up into the piston. But it's very rare to have to do that. got missing one. We got 9 of these return springs. We're going to put 3 together, skip 2, and put 3 together. Our retainer, we're going to put, let's see how this is. You look at the tips of these snap rings, you see how the bevel, you want the bevel up, taper up, is what I say. Put the opening of your snap ring away from these openings, and I'm going to set it in there just like that. And this drum has a cutout. We can put either a 3 or a 4. We probably even put 5 clutches in here if we worked at it. Direct drum normally takes thick steels. You can put thin ones in here. So this one's only got 3. We could play around with this one. It's got the thick pressure plate. We can go with the thinner pressure plate and probably get 4. We can go with the thin steels and probably might get 5 clutches in there. With thicker clutches are your directs. See how our clearance comes out. I may or may not play around with it. Yeah, we'll probably leave it right there. And then we take this wavy snap ring, goes in on top. All the way down. This is our overdrive direct, or overdrive, I don't want to say direct, our overdrive piston. Put the lip up towards us. The vent to your transmission. So if you fill this up too fast or you put too much fluid in it, it's going to burp out that little hole right there, and it's going to look like you're leaking out the front. Yeah, you can go to the arbor press and press my bushing in. You can see that the opening of the bushing right there. I don't want that where you stake the bushing into the pump right there. So we're going to put this over here. I'm going to stake our bushing in.
That's how it took the copper.
All it was doing was shuttering. Other than that, it worked fine. As soon as it went into lockup, it shuttered its ass off. You can put some 3M weather strip adhesive if you want on the seal. On these torque flights on your pump gears, you kind of have them centered, because if you don't, you put your stator on, it can get cocked in there and then you can't get it popped back down. So it's not always not a bad idea to check these on your converter once you get this bolted down. It doesn't matter on the outer gear usually on these torque flights. In fact, on the inner gear, a lot of times it doesn't matter. On this one here, it doesn't matter. But you can put it in the way that they had it. You can see where the hub's been hitting the gear right there. Sometimes you can look in here and you can see how far up the hub has been riding, like it's been riding right there. Ends right there. But like I said, most of these torque flights, until you get into the real later ones, it doesn't really matter which way you put the pump gears in. I'm going to kind of center that up, and we're going to line up our feed holes. And then you got these 1/2 inches, 6 of them. Need a real thin wall, usually socket, to get in there to get those back in, because it sits really close to the sides here. Sometimes you have to drive it on with a hammer just to get it on there. That's what I had to do on this one to get it apart. This one right here. Alright, the pump washer is selective. Let's see what this one is. This one happens to be 83. These here are governor rings, which this one doesn't have a governor. It's electronic, so that you can throw those away. These are our pump rings. Our O-ring, make sure it's not curled. Very easy to do. Alright, we only halfway assemble this. And the different washers for different style of planets that you have. This one here happens to take this washer goes in the back here. Then the planet just sits on top of it. This one here takes this wide area here. 4 tab, sitting in that spot's right there. Inner sun shell can sit on top. And we got this 5 tab washer that sits in there. Then we got this 4 tab washer that sits on top of the front planet. And it's going to ride on the Planetary like that. So it's not here, we can't put that together. Look at this area real close in here, especially on a diesel. Those will crack. Sonex makes a steel one that you can put in. Overdrive housing, we got a orifice filter that goes in here, make sure it's in there. In this spot right here, there's a check ball. I'll make sure it's free. And on these accumulators, or servos I should say, I don't never change the top ring unless it looks horrible. These have a scarf cut. They're going to go together just like that, not like that. And we got a spring in there. In case you lose it, I guess I can give you the dimensions. Inch 200, 796, 56. And you got this washer, 69 thousandths, 665 inside, and outside's 1 inch 116. And you've got the inside eyes on this snap ring, and we're going to put the taper of our tips up again. I had a question here recently about snap rings, and now that I'm thinking about it, I thought they were talking about the ones that I put in the case. It was asking if it's really that critical and snap rings be put in a certain place, and I'm wondering if there was talking about the snap rings where I tell you to put the taper the tips up. If you ever have to take a snap ring out that's been put in backwards and your snap ring pliers are getting wore out and it slips off the snap ring for the first time because it's upside down, each time that it slips off of there after that, it's going to get exponentially harder to get that damn snap ring out of there. And after a few times of that, yeah, you're going to say, yeah, it's important that they go in the right direction. But as far as the ones that go in the case, yes, it's sometimes it's not as important. I have found them in certain areas that they say that when it's supposed to be in a certain place, But other trannies, it is downright critical that it be in the right spot. One of them would be the 6T, or actually a 6F35, 6T40 also, the same tranny. Chevy's 6T40, Ford's 6F35. But if you put that snap ring that goes on top of that top pressure plate, you put that in the wrong spot, you can break the case. It doesn't always do it, but in fact, I did a video on one, and I had to come in here, they put it in the wrong spot and it broke the case. Alright, this accumulator goes in the valve body. Alright, where's my opening? Come on, you're right there. I can see you. These other two plastic rings that are in here go for the input shaft on the forward drum. There's two different sizes, so if you put the small shaft in the big shaft stator, you're not going to have any forwards. You can't go the opposite direction, but you can screw up the other way, so make sure that you put the right forward drum with the right stator. Alright, on this rear band drum you got several different, or a couple different ones. You got the one that's got this lip, and you got one without the lip. Alright, I'm going to go get the valve body and then I'll be back. Alright, and in this channel plate here we got it 2/4 inch balls. Usually there's both steel, so you can swap this one out. Sometimes it's plastic, and it's not a bad idea to put a plastic one in there because that metal one will beat this plate out right here where it goes. I have fixed them before with the fits-all Tech Pack separator plate kits. It does kind of block the hole up a little bit. So what I'll usually do is just drill the hole a little bit bigger once I get the clip in there. But I haven't really noticed much of a difference whether I do or I don't do that. And I usually like to use this style filter. This one's all blown to hell on this one. So they don't give you that style in the kit anymore. They give you this one. I don't really like it. You probably leave it out, but I always stick it back in there. .25 Torx on all the valve body bolts, and let's see here, this one down here, see if you can see this one down here, and this one right here are your lineup bolts. And this part of your valve body, make sure your throttle valve is nice and free. It's not a bad idea. I use several different things on my valve body or my valves. I use aero coil or I use PB blast, whatever happens to be handy. Not a bad idea to spray some of this on there and get this working back and forth really good. Just want to make sure it's really nice and free. After a rebuild, and I don't have too much problems. The guy I used to have problems with this happening is no longer here. I'm not sure exactly what he was doing, but I had several from him that after a rebuild he'd be filling it full of fluid and he'd come back and say it wouldn't move. And this valve right here was hanging. It'd be hung open. This is your converter regulator valve, and if it sticks open, your converter is not going to fill with fluid and it's not going to move. So usually what I'd happen is I just tell him pull the pan. As soon as he pulled the pan, I walk out there, I touch this valve, it'd pop back into place and everything be hunky-dory. But he's the only one I've ever had trouble, and like I said, he's no longer here. I don't know what he did, but he's the only one. So we got 1/4 inch check balls here, 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 and here. And this other one is 300, that's an odd size, 341 thousandths. And this valve body fits on this screen, fits down inside here. If you got a valve body that has a pocket right here, it takes this check ball, and it is, this battery must be getting low. This thing's acting weird. 185 thousandths. And we got the separator plate goes in. Like I said, one of our lineup bolts is right here and the other one's back down here. So we'll go ahead and we'll get these started. That'll line everything up. This bolt with the large washer on it goes right here. If you had a cloth filter, all three of these bolts would go in the filter. And these two shorter ones go into your solenoid, your governor solenoid body. Sometimes, like this one, sometimes this one right here is short also. Some of the early models, this little hook wasn't on there. These bolts are a little bit longer that hold this cover on than the rest of the little bitty short ones. Let's see. Had a couple people taking exception to the fact that I don't use a torque wrench on my pumps and on my valve bodies. If you need to use a torque wrench, use a torque wrench. I've gotten pretty comfortable with my gun, and I know what it feels like to be about a certain torque, and I'm fine by doing it by feel. If you can't do it by feel, then use a torque wrench. I still use them every once in a while. Alright, this plate right here, this is your lockup. You can drill this out to 56 thousandths. I wouldn't go any higher than that. Somebody's already gone just a little bit bigger than that. I usually try to stay around 56. These are pretty common to break. I've seen quite a few. I keep a stock of them around, so it's something to keep an eye on when you tear your transmission apart. See if that clip is broke. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I've seen it broke so bad that the spring and the valve's laying in the pan. Usually it's just hanging off. Only half of it's broken. Alright. I'm gonna move this out to the low position and take this clip off of here. This little washer. There's a seal that goes in here. For right now, I'm going to leave it in there. And what I do is I grab my hand right here and I just kind of barely lift this up. We're going to lift this up just enough, keeping a little bit of downward pressure to get the manual valve out. Goes in just like that. That allows us to not pop that ball out. Now if it does pop out, I believe this came out of the Supplier kit. This is the best tool I've come across for putting this in. They make a long and a short. This end's for the long, this end's for the short. You just pop that around there, and it holds the ball in while you do all this. Works really, really well. Transgo makes, this is what they give you to hold that in there, and you pop it in. Actually, it goes this way. The ball fits down in that pocket, and this sits down in there and holds it. It's supposed to hold it back. It works, but this works better. I think there's another one out there, but I don't remember who makes it. Those come in the shift kits, and I don't hardly ever put shift kits in these unless they just ask for them. I don't really find the need for it. Now that we got that, we can take the seal out. You can lube this up if you want to. It fits in just like that. Make sure it's shoved all the way around, not hanging up on that groove of where the clip goes. And you just put the washer back on top, push up on your throttle lever, and then put your snap ring back in, your E-clip. Alright, well, you been there we go. Alright, now we just make sure we're good. You can also look at this, it's not so common on these as it is the 48RE, the diesel. Something about the diesel, this pocket wears out real bad. This is slightly worn, but it's not too bad. I wouldn't worry about this one at all. But sometimes the diesels wear out really bad, and they make a tool to fix that. Sonex does. They make the oversized ball and sleeve that goes in there. So we got our updated governor solenoid. The connector has to be turned over. Somebody's already done it before. It's already turned upside down because normally this little tab is facing up and it plugs in just like that. Now we got to put it in there. We're going to put our bracket right there. We're going to put our transducer in. Yeah, this is the later style. The earlier style is a different one, and well, actually I don't think they put it in the 518, but no, at A500 they had even a real early one that was a 3-prong. I don't think they ever put it in this one. And this is our gasket. There are our feed holes. We're going to go right here. We're going to face over here. Now you can leave this loose if you want to, and tighten it up when you do the valve body bolts when it's all in there. I just line it up and tighten it down. It works fine. There we go. Get our bracket lined up. Plug that in, snap our lock, and let's see, I think our shim showed up, so we can stuff our overdrive section in the tail housing. And our planet showed up too, so we can do that. and our neutral switch, so we can actually finish this unit. Amazing, I finally got some parts so I can finish something. I think we'll go ahead and do our front part of our unit, and then we'll go on to the overdrive section. Actually put the filter on right now. Might as well. I got the socket on the gun. I'm going to put the tab of our washer right there. Get our Planet on. You can lube up all that if you want to. And put the taper of our tips of our snap ring up. Here we go. And then we got this washer goes on the front. Just like that. Alright. Let me go get the case. Alright. Some of these companies where you get if you have this, it goes bad because it's eat up right here, or shaft gets stuck in here because it's all galled up. That's the ones where I take the tool and I'll make I take the shaft and I cut it and make a tool out of it. But some of the replacement housings have these holes drilled out, and if you have an electronic unit, you're going to have to plug them off, and that comes with the plugs. So make sure our holes are all lined up. These feed holes are going to go over here. Get these 6 3/8. I'm in the camera. Sometimes it's hard to tell where this is pointing. Wish I had a way that I could pull it up on the computer and see what the camera's saying. Brag assembly, the springs and rollers fit in like that. You got this in, it's got the, you can see how it's shaped like that. It's going to face up. Fit right down in the case like that. We got our band. This is going to fit up inside that anchor. Put our band drum in. Alright, I'm going to turn clockwise and lock counterclockwise. Sometimes when you put these in a cleaning machine, after it heats up, that race will kind of work its way out. If it does, you can't get the snapper in, you just take a hammer and you just pop it like that and it'll go down. And we got this snap ring, we're going to put the taper of our tips up. I'm going to put the opening away from one of those notches. And drop our Planetary assembly in. And put our band in. This one, it doesn't matter which way because it's notched on both ends. Some of them this goes all the way down, so this part would be up. Let's say this went all the way down to here. You'd want the notched end facing up. Make sure our washer's on the back. Good. Get lots of lube. And our pump gasket. Line our holes up. If these washers look okay, I just reuse them. If you need to replace them, you just pop them off. Usually you can get them with your fingernail. If it doesn't start off, you can get you a pair of dikes and get in there and pop them down. Then once you get to this point, you can get you a pair of pliers and hold it, and if you got an impact, you can run it off of the impact. If not, you're either doing it by hand or you're using a ratchet and a socket, but they'll come off. These look really good. I'm going to reuse them. I think somebody had been into this unit not that long ago. Half inch on the pump bolts. Turning nice and free. Get this up on the bench. Alright, in this servo here, you can't have too much grease. You want to lube the crap out of this thing. You want to lube both of them. if you're going to have a problem, this is where it's going to be. These things are super bad about cocking and getting stuck. And I found a few things that will help alleviate that problem. One of them is lubing the crap out of it. The other one is setting your band pretty tight. The other thing is getting your R&R guy to not put it in gear until it's full of fluid. And a lot of guys like to get out there and go from park to drive, reverse drive, neutral drive, back and forth really quick. And I found that tends to make that cock. So resist the temptation. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this with the camera in the way, because these springs are a little bit stiff. Alright, you got two springs. Big one goes up here in the front servo. Little one goes in the back. You got this top hat. Goes in like that. This one is not near as hard to put in as a front servo. Then you got this one, it goes in up here. And what I've tried to do, get it started. And of course we're going to be difficult because we're on camera. You also need to make sure that that travels nice and free on there. Might want to give it a little bit of lube. See if we get this going. I don't ever change this ring either on here unless it looks just absolutely horrible. It's hard enough to get in as it is. Putting a new one on makes it exponentially harder. There we go. Let's hold that down. Start your snap ring in. Come on, baby, start in there. And just work it around. There we go. They make heavy duty struts for this if you desire to put them in there. A lot of times this one will get broke when this band gets down far enough. It'll come out of there and it'll get all wrapped up and everything. Start tearing up parts. I do my bands a little bit different than what the book calls for. I think it calls for 2 turns in the back and a turn and a half in the front. Might be 2 turns in the front. I don't remember. It's been so long. I don't do it the way that they say to do it. What I do is I go and get this where I feel about where I want it to be. And then I'll air apply them a few times. See if anything moves around. Loosen this one up. This is our strut. It's going to go in just like that, not like that, like that. We got to get this in that groove of that band. And then we got to pop it up into the groove of this lever. Of course, now that we're on camera, it's wanting to be difficult. Normally it just pops right in there, but we're gonna just be this way. Sometimes the bands are kind of tight and it won't go back far enough for that lever to, that strut to get all the way up in there. I have had instances where I had to take the lever assembly out, but normally it just pops right in there. But we're not going to do that today. You're going to make me look like an idiot. Everybody out there going, yeah, sure, it normally pops up in there. I found that sometimes you get these bands from WIT, and I think they come from China, because they're just not quite the same. I don't know, they look alright, but you run into stuff like this. And that's where this one came from, WIT. I may have to take this assembly out. I hate to, because it's a pain. And to get some help in here, maybe even make it work. Maybe I can put some pressure on there. Let me try that. Put some pressure on there. And drive this back at the same time. not going to. Alright, this is what we'll do. Going to, if we can get it to pop back out now. There we go. See if we can pop this out enough. I guess it's just as well. Probably ought to change the O-rings on this pin. Usually I'll just put silicone on it because they leak anyway. It can come out just enough. Get our lever out of there. There we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put some grease on here to hold that in place. Normally you don't have to do all this, you just pop it in there and it'll be fine. Might as well change these O-rings while I got it out here. Alright, now see if we can get this back up in there. There we go. That is super tight. Get some air on the situation. Maybe it'll seep that in there. Alright, I'm not sure where it shut off. But we are still jacking with the servos. I usually get it to where it's about right there, but the band drum still turns easy. Make sure it still does once you tighten your nut down. Alright, we're good there. I like that adjustment right there. It seems good to me. And hold up on the lever so that the adjustment bolt doesn't turn. Start the nut on. I'll put a dab of silicone behind it. we're going to hit it with the impact because they do like to back off. It's 3/4. We can air check our unit, front and rear clutch right there. Push in on your output shaft. It's going to push you back. Knock our lever seal out. Even if you're not changing the neutral switch, it's a good idea to pull it out. When you're putting the valve body back in, it can, if you're not careful, it'll hit right here, it'll break that off. They do make a replacement for it. I think it's Sonex that has it. You got 3 different bolts. Your really long ones go back here on the governor solenoid and transducer. The really short ones go there, and then the short spot back here, and then the other ones go over there 7/16. Put our filler tube boot in. Some of the early ones taken over him. 1/2 inch on the pan bolts. Here's a lever seal. Here's an installer for it. There's a remover. You can change the seal without having to pull the valve body off of it in the vehicle. Makes it really nice. You don't have to have this to put it in. I think I got this off the Snap-on truck. It says K-D 2392. Pretty sure I got it off the Snap-on truck. Since we don't have the linkage, put a pair of vice grips on here to move the linkage around when I put my overdrive section on. This is just how I do it. I got a buddy that puts the overdrive housing on before he puts the valve body on. And actually, before he puts all the guts in, he puts the overdrive section in the back of the tranny here, and then he stacks the whole tranny up. But this works for me. That works for him. However you want to do it. You got these two holes in the housing here. You got these two here. I find that putting this one at the top, for some reason it goes in easier. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. What I do is I put it up there. I get the inside lip seal started so I can feel. Right there's where the tabs are. Get in here. Kind of keep a little forward pressure, not too much. Otherwise it's going to make it difficult to get your lip seal in, and it's going to cut it. Make sure we're all the way flat. Got our gasket on. Got our shim. These shims are selective. There's a real elaborate way to try to figure out which one that you need. If you didn't change anything, you don't need to change it. I found that even if you do, it usually comes out pretty damn close. 213 thousandths on this one. Just put that on there. Alright, now we get our overdrive housing. Knock our seal out. Put our new one in. You're gonna be like that, are you? We're going to pull this snap ring out of here. I'm on now. There we go. Here's a flat spot right there. This is where this shim is going to sit. Actually the teeth face in, I forgot. And we're going to pop our snap ring back into the groove. There we go. Take our overdrive section, stuff it in the case. Spread our snap ring out. Had a couple instances where I had to shave down on that shim a little bit on those teeth that stick out there. And this may be one of those times. Go. What it is about today, everything's going from a mess. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go grind a little bit off of these teeth right here and let it sit back a little bit. Let's see what that does. I think we might need just a tad bit more. think that's going to do it this time. Probably will, since my snap ring's wanting to give me trouble now. Popped right in. Alright. And we got a flat snap ring. It's going to pick a spot. Put this over here. And our wavy one, we don't want both openings in the same spot. Our 46 REs are usually like this, 2 pressure plates. You probably take this, I've done it before. You take this pressure plate out, add 2 steels and 1 clutch, and it'll give you 1 more clutch. Our bottom pressure plates, 213. I think our top one should be the same. Yep, 213. Our bearing sits on top right there. We got this wire that holds all this in while we're putting this together. Other than that, it doesn't do anything. Alright, if this doesn't want to slide out, you just give it a wrap and it'll come out. This is the fun part. We got to get our linkage up inside there. And it's kind of, as I'm going in, I guide it in. Try not to turn this, otherwise it'll start turning your planets. And you're going to have to turn it just a tad, but try to not turn it as much as you can. You're going to feel the park rod going up in there, and then we're just going to kind of jimmy it in just like that. Sometimes you got 2 of these brackets that go on both corners here. I think they kept a bolt out there because I'm short a bolt. Probably this bracket is on it out there. Seven sixteenths. Alright, we're going to check park now. I'm holding park. Yep, my pliers are getting in the way. There we go. Go ahead and pop this out. If this gets too wore out in the case right here, this pocket, they make a saver that you can put down in there and it stiffens that up. I think it's Superior that makes that. Our neutral switch, a 1-inch narrow wall socket or a wrench. One inch on the speed sensor back here. Not staying very well. Our gasket, our plate, the beveled part sticks up. These two 25 Torx go in there.